I'm Laura Rose. I'm a lesbian mother of two. I've carried two of our children. My wife carried our first child, I carried our second, and now our third. And our third child was conceived via IVF. I'm also the founder of the LGBT Mummies Tribe, which is an organisation that supports LGBT plus women and people on the paths to parenthood. Having a baby is obviously not very easy for our community, and for people like us, it was a really difficult journey. So when I carried the first time around our second child, I fell really easily, second round of IUI naturally, and thought that it'd just happen again. But then when it came to it and then they tested me, being my age and being early 30s, I was really shocked to find that my egg reserve had halved, it completely diminished. So first of all, this time round, I had 3 IUIs, which is intrauterine uterine insemination, which is really difficult to say, which is basically when they track your ovulation and then they inseminate you with the donor sperm. Those 3 didn't work, they failed, so I moved to IVF. I think there's a common misconception that everyone that has IVF falls really quickly unless they're infertile with really bad issues. Even us, and being really educated and well informed in fertility treatment, we just thought 2 embryos, top quality, there's nothing overly wrong with me, I haven't got any conditions, I should fall. So we were just so hell-bent on the fact that it would happen. And then when we tested, and we tested early, we've never tested early before, we tested about 4 days early, and I was just broken and just really, sorry, I don't know why I'm getting upset. I just really struggled, because I thought it would have worked, and I just assumed it would. And you don't ever think that it's going to happen to you. It's always someone else that it happens to. And supporting other people through those situations, you see how broken they are, and it's only when you go through it yourself you realise how hard it is and how difficult it can be, not just on yourself, but on your partner or wife or your children as well, because they're around it, they have to experience it as well. When people say, oh, I'm sorry, it failed, it's the word failed, hasn't worked, all that kind of language, it kind of makes you feel like a failure, and it feels like it was something that you had and it's lost. Whereas with IUI, if it didn't work, nothing's actually fertilised at that point. So you did feel like something had already happened, your body was already nearly there, and it was your body that just kind of didn't do the work. So we tried again. This time they had to thaw the frozen embryos. We had 3 left out of the 5, and they thawed one, so basically from frozen to fresh, and they put that embryo back in, and luckily it implanted in my cervix, and yeah, now I'm pregnant. When you speak to the people that we support in the tribe and our community, there's some people that have been trying for years and have gone through miscarriage after miscarriage, stillbirths, failed cycles, and they continue going. And we are really, really lucky. We've had a difficult time, but nothing compared to some of the people we support that really, really have had it really, really tough. The reason we set up the LGBT Mummies Tribe as an organisation was to support other people in our community, because when we first went to have children, we didn't have anyone we could talk to. There was no community, no one you could share your lived experience with. So by the time we had our second child, it was just so apparent so many people were contacting us by different ways, through family, friends, parents, just wanted to know how we'd had the children. Even in the street, people would, oh, I've got family like you, can you tell me how you had the children, and how much did it cost? It just became apparent that it was a niche, and it was an area that there needed to be a community and support. People from the LGBT plus community do face and can face discrimination across healthcare, especially around maternity. Not saying that happens to everyone. We've had really positive experiences and really great midwives and health professionals look after us. And then we've had equally really negative, really upsetting, discriminatory situations that have affected us. The fact is that it should be equal access for all, but everyone should be treated equally. We do also feel that midwives and health professionals should have a certain level of education and training to support our community, so they should understand who we are as people, what language to use, our pronouns, and how to support us and the types of family creation and how we have our children. They should have an understanding of that, at least basic. And they don't, not always. So unfortunately, the midwives and the health professionals are not supported, we're not being supported, so there's a real lack of understanding. So what could be a really positive experience isn't always. We had a situation where we had our daughter and I took her in to see the obstetrician who was checking her over, and when she realised what kind of person I was, that I was an LGBT plus person, and she said, I want the mum, and I said, I am her mum. And she said, are you Stacey? And I said, no. And I said, I'm Laura. And she looked really confused. She worked out what the situation was, and she looked me up and down and sneered, and she kind of clicked and went, get her out, I want the mum, I want the real mum. And at that point, I kind of had never experienced any kind of level of discrimination like that. So I just started crying, and then she started really being heavy-handed with the baby. So I just said, like, give her to me, and I ran out. And we reported it to PALS, and we got told that it was just the way she was and that this happened quite often, and that they were really sorry, but just report it. And not much came of it, but we've had people come to us that have had worse situations, or situations where, you know, they're dismissed, or they consistently give their pronouns or explain that they're married to a woman, and they'll say, oh, what about the dad? What does the dad look like? Or have you got the dad's history, even though someone says donor? When it comes to fertility treatment on the NHS, it's not available for everyone. Not everyone has equal access. It is a postcode lottery dependent on where you live. And we feel that it is every person's human right to have a child by their chosen route. So if they choose to have children via fertility treatment because that's the way they need to have their children, like our community, everyone should have access, heterosexuals and LGBT plus people. But we feel also if people, the NHS can't fund that, and they can't fund everyone because they haven't got a huge pot of gold, we understand that and appreciate that, then it should be means tested. So it should be for those of a low income or from areas of social deprivation, so they get access. And then if that means people like us have to pay, so be it. It's not great, but those that can't ever afford it get that opportunity to have a child. Birth in the future takes passion, determination, time, strength, tears, a lot of medication sometimes, and partnership. So partnership with your partner or family or clinic, and a real big level of support. What I'm most proud of is that we've been able to create two and bump miracle babies from science, and we've been able to have a family that we really dreamed of.